Hello and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jameson Rabbit, and today I'm joined by a man who is in the final stages of artificial intelligence, and his name is Mike Roth.
It's true. I've always been a robot, but now I can feel. So, you know.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
We're working out the glitches on you, and I think we are ready to put you out there and see how it flies.
The thing that they need to really tackle a little bit is my remorse. I really don't have that at all.
Have that completely
Makes the show
removed.
so much better.
I love it. So this week, before we get started talking about what's on the marquee, we want to welcome in our newest affiliate to Real Reviews. Our new affiliate coming to us from Londonderry, New Hampshire, the East Coast, again, being good to us.
Yep.
Mike, what do you know about Londonderry, New Hampshire?
Londonderry was settled by Scottish settlers. Originally, the area was called Nutfield because of the dense forests of nut trees that happen to be in the area. What else do we got on this? The Peterson Sugar House. Every spring, they tap the maple trees out there, and people could come by as long as he's making it and enjoy the maple syrup, maybe try a little bit before it becomes its final product. And on Memorial Weekend, this coming Memorial Weekend, they have a car show sponsored by the Rotary Club.
Well, there you go.
It's a tradition in Londonderry since
before there were cars.
That cannot be correct.
1903.
Well,
that says 1719, Mike.
Yes, it does.
Now,
it has not been going on since 1719.
I'm not the smartest guy, but the car show, I'm doubting started in 1719.
Well, see, the settlers got there in 1718, and right away they were like, we need to make a mark. So one year later, after settling, wasn't farming, it wasn't...
200 years in the future, there's going to be cars.
I'm very sorry, Londonderry, but thank you very much for watching us.
Yeah,
and,
no doubt. We want to welcome in all the people in Londonderry, New Hampshire who are watching Real Reviews. Thank you for bringing us in. Thank you for watching us. We always appreciate that. Moving on, we have our one movie on the marquee this week that we need to discuss, and it's a biggie. It's a big one.
I've heard of it.
Right. It's a sequel. This week on the marquee, we have The Avengers, Age of Ultron, the sequel to the mega blockbuster Avengers movie, and just following along this timeline of the big Marvel story that is being told.
Twice.
Yeah, I saw it 3 times.
Wow.
Can't get enough of it. Spoiler alert. And so here we are. We reunite the Avengers team, picking up right where Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. leaves off. The Avengers team jumps right into it. And we are going to stay spoiler-free for you. There's a lot to talk about in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
But we know that it's still early and we don't want to ruin anything. So we'll give you our thoughts on it without getting into a lot of the things that happen in this movie. But it really is, we jump right into the action with the Avengers team fighting against Strucker and trying to get the scepter back that we were trying to get back in the first Avengers. Loki's scepter we were trying to get back. And this movie also adds in a few new characters. We get Quicksilver, this version of Quicksilver, as opposed to the X-Men version of Quicksilver.
Just last year.
Right. We also have the Scarlet Witch, played by Elizabeth Olsen, and Ultron, the kind of the title character, the villain, played by James Spader, voiced by James Spader, as a sentient technology that Tony Stark had created to help protect the world, activates itself and becomes self-aware and says, no, I got my own plans.
Oh, we also have Andy Serkis in there, who I would assume is going to come back when they do Black Panther, 2 years from now?
Kind of set it up a little bit, yep. Right. It was nice to see Andy Serkis in front of the camera, not covered by motion capture.
That was really interesting. He did a really good job. I couldn't tell it was Andy Serkis until someone told me it was
really?
Andy Serkis. Yeah,
it was
it's
really
the
nice
beard. It throws people off.
Yeah. And the thing that I really enjoyed about Avengers is, I mean, we get our classic team-ups. We get a lot of familiar things. The humor in this movie, I thought, lands very well.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of great humorous moments.
Tons of one-liners.
Yeah, really. Tony Stark has some amazing ones. There's a lot of there's a great couple of scenes dealing with Thor's hammer that play to the comedy. Even Ultron, as the villain, as the robot, quote unquote, has a personality. Isn't just kill, kill, kill. He's got personality. He gets off some one-liners.
And I love how they spin it off that his. This sounds weird, but his personality is a spin-off of Tony Stark, but more immature.
Right.
It's like emotionally immature. The way he looks at the world is still new, but he has all the confidence and quirkiness of his maker.
Right. And the thing that I really enjoyed about this movie is it progresses the story. It's a classic, like, Empire Strikes Back, middle ground movie where it gets darker. It has it has to progress into this big, almost infinite Marvel universe that we are in right now. And it does a good job of being dark and getting serious, but not to the detriment of just for no reason. Like, there's a reason it does that. It also does a great job, I think, of humanizing a lot of the characters who, in previous movies, we got their backstory, and in the Avengers, it was more of giving everybody something to do. And in this movie, everyone had something to do, but they also, every character basically had a way of humanizing them, making you realize their motivations. And
especially like, Hawkeye, he's been in 2 previous films.
Right.
And the first one, he was just like, oh, I think
Very
that's Hawkeye.
minor, yep.
And then when he came into Avengers, the majority of the movie, he was brainwashed.
Right.
So you really never got to know Hawkeye. This episode, you were able to get into his character, find out his present life a little bit more.
You find out that, and you also find out some of his personality. I mean, he had some great lines. He had some great moments throughout. And Natasha, the Black Widow, and Hulk, great moments with them. Great way of, I think, humanizing the Hulk. I don't want to go into how it ends, but how we leave the Hulk really intrigues me.
Yes.
And the backstory that Natasha tells about why she is the way she is, and why she is intrigued by the Hulk, really, I thought did a great job of humanizing who she is. She's not just a SHIELD trained killing machine. She's a person, you know?
Everybody's got hearts.
Yeah.
Even the computers have hearts.
You know, and actually, for all it is, Captain America seems to be the one who had the least amount to do in this movie.
I'd have
but
to
we've
agree.
seen the most from him. Him and Tony Stark have had the most backstory films. Kind of curious what you think about this Avengers.
Well, I'm going to start with the good first. The good part is whoever designs the choreography for these fight scenes, they're absolute geniuses. You know, not only do they find creative ways to find, each individual to fight, but they fight together. They take skills from one and another, and they'll combine it, and boom, something goes off. And they do it without a hitch. It's not like, hey, build up, here it is. It's almost like a side thing. Like, whoa, what did I just see? Did I just see those two?
That was something I was going to say. Is that's one of the things I really loved was you see it right away. You see, especially Captain America and Thor working together, where they've discovered, like, hey, I throw my shield up, you whack it with the hammer. It does this. It feels like they've worked together a lot in the past. Since we last saw them, they haven't just been sitting back in their own worlds.
Yeah.
They've been out trying to track down this scepter, and they've fought many battles together is what it felt like.
They found out how to work together extremely well. Yep. There was even a scene where they had to slow it down because there was so much going on.
The great hero scene of you do the 360, showcase everybody's fighting skill, as you do that great frozen.
And no one's just, throwing out punches and hoping for hits. Everybody is doing something spectacular. Right. It's that they did great. And the fact that I really felt engaged into these characters, I think they did an extremely good job at. What I did not like is it's starting to feel like it's too big of a franchise. When you're watching, to me, when I'm watching this, I'm thinking they are doing too much to cater to the 11 things that, predecess this. We have a Hulk, 3 Iron Mans, 2 Captain Americas, 2 Thor's, we have 2 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter, and they're trying to give winks and nods to everything.
Yeah.
And I find they're spending way too much time doing that instead of giving me a hard plot or
See, and I disagree. I think that this movie did a phenomenal job of progressing the story into where they're going. Without spending too much time looking back, that this is going, it is a big story that Marvel is telling.
Yeah.
And Marvel, a decade ago, laid out the story that they're telling and are doing, I think, a phenomenal job of telling it and progressing from movie to movie to movie. And I don't know, some of the movies I like more than others.
Yeah.
But there's not one of them that I would say, well, that one doesn't do anything for the narrative. I think they all have progressed the narrative. I think this one really shoved it into an angle that I'm excited for Captain America 3, because we'll be having the Civil War.
Yeah.
And I thought it progressed the characters and kind of showed some of the rifts that develop and kind of showed why some of these guys are the way they are.
I actually thought this was a step back from the first Avengers. The first Avengers, I thought it was an exciting climax to the phase. And for people who don't know this, Marvel is calling each one of these segments phases.
Right.
The first phase was Hulk to Avengers, and then the second phase, which we just finished with Avengers 2.
Yeah, they kind of punctuate them with the team-up movie.
Yeah. The end of the first phase was extremely powerful. I thought that they utilized the characters well, but still maintaining that it's a standalone movie. You could have watched the Avengers and missed seeing Hulk or missed seeing Thor.
Right.
It would have been easy. The second one, Avengers, I felt like you really needed all these backstories.
See, and that's what I like about it, is because it is easy to make an Avengers movie and you throw all these superheroes in and you're like, whoa, this is cool, because it's never been done before. We've never seen that on film.
Yeah.
So no matter what, the first one was going to be cool and interesting and wow, we've never seen this. Now we've seen it. You've done it, great. We know these characters well. Now make it interesting to me. Progress the story, make me care about what's going to happen, make an interesting villain, which is better. The villain in this one is better than Loki in the first one. As much as I love Loki, we'd already seen Loki before that. So this is better. And now you take something that isn't new and fresh and cool, and I've seen you do this before, make me interested. And they did. They interested me a lot. And so I thought that was even better than the first one, in my opinion.
I actually didn't, with the first one, I was more interested in the end of the world. This I will give you a spoiler alert. There was a segment in the first Avengers movie where the world was going to end.
Sure.
And I understand that, this happened in 2, but I didn't feel it like I felt it in 1. In 1, I knew this was going to be done. Everyone was going to die if they did not win. 2, I didn't quite. I mean, they told me, but I didn't feel it.
See, I liked the fact that they were able to add in new characters, make them interesting, make them integral to the story, and bring in some cameos almost of some of the characters that we loved in the past and in other franchises. They're brought in real quick. I like where they went with it. Without getting into the end of the movie, I thought the end of the movie kind of fell flat a little bit for me. I was a little disappointed with that. But as always, stay through the credits.
Oh, yep.
There's a mid-credit scene. There's no post-credit scene like the shawarma scene in the first one, but there is a mid-credit scene which tells you the direction this is going after that. But my only disappointment was at the very end of the movie, and we won't get into that. But I just thought it fell a little flat. But real quickly, what was your score then? What would you give Avengers to?
This was still a great movie. I gave it a 3.5. I probably would have gone a little higher, but I was a little disconnected with some of the points.
Sure. I liked it. I mean, it's splitting hairs. A smidge, I guess, more than the first one. I gave it a 4.5 stars. I thought it was a lot of fun, and having seen it 3 times, it does not get old, does not lose interest.
No.
I really
I guarantee,
enjoy it.
even if I gave it a 3.5, I am going to watch this over and over again.
They just do so good. Marvel, man, they're nailing it.
Of course, it makes it easy when Marcus opens a new theater and there's all these cool things you want to look
Beautiful
at.
seats and all that. But we both recommend Avengers. We both say go out in the theater and see it right now. But moving ahead to what we're talking about next is not all comic book movies are great.
No.
Sometimes there's some stinkers. Sometimes there's some terrible ones. But sometimes you still like them.
Yeah, there's people like you and me who still give these guys money.
And we call those guilty pleasures.
Yes.
And so Mike and I are going to quickly discuss our top 5 guilty pleasure comic book movies. And we are also throwing in the Rotten Tomatoes percentage for these films.
Yeah. Just to prove
Just
how
to
bad
prove
they
that
are.
they're not, yeah, I mean, because there are some like, hey, maybe this. And then you look and you go, what's 85%? That's not guilty pleasure. So let's start with your number 5, sir. Your number 5 guilty pleasure comic book film.
I liked Batman Forever. If you remember 1995, Batman came out with a part 3 that everyone disliked, but I really liked Jim Carrey's character.
The Riddler, yeah.
I thought it was better than the second one, even though we lost Burton as director and we went with Joel Schumacher.
Yep.
Who's done Flatliners and Lost Boys, St. Elmo's Fire. He was pretty good, but this was considered a stinker of a movie. The Rotten Tomatoes percentage was 41%.
Yes.
And I still love it.
Stands by it.
Great soundtrack, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, no doubt. My number 5 is Time Cop.
Ah!
Time Cop, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, Mia Sara, just a bunch of ridiculousness. Time Cop, where Jean-Claude Van Damme travels through time. He's a time cop.
Percentage?
My percentage of that, 43%. Actually, the highest of all the movies I'm going to be discussing.
Wow.
Surprisingly, Time Cop is the most well-received movie of the films I'm discussing.
I got one that's...
I never thought there'd be a list where that was the best movie. Your number 4.
My number 4. I am also the only one who likes Conan 2011.
Jason Momoa one.
Yes, a vengeful barbarian warrior sets off to avenge his tribe. The budget was $70 million, and it grossed in $21 million.
It's getting it done right there. Why isn't there a sequel then?
I have no
we
idea.
only lost $50 million.
And tie-in, Thor. He was supposed to be Hercules, or at least they wanted him.
Instead, we got Aquaman in there.
Yeah, we got Aquaman instead, and I think it was a good... I saw it in 3D. Maybe that's what it was.
Mike, that is a guilty pleasure. No doubt about it.
I liked it.
No doubt. My number 4...
Percentage.
Oh.
24%. It was
Attaboy.
24% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's a splat.
My number 4 pulls in an 18% score on Rotten Tomatoes, and it is starring another thespian, Sylvester Stallone. My number 4 is Judge Dredd. Judge Dredd based off...
The first one? Oh, my gosh.
With Rob Schneider as the sidekick.
Yep.
And, because it's just so bad, but it's so good. It's one of those that if it's on, I'm watching it. I mean... They redid the Dredd movie, with Carl Urban, and they made it dark and gritty and stole the storyline from the Raid Redemption and tried to make it Dredd.
You sound like you hate that movie.
I do. I hate
my
because
gosh.
they took an amazing movie and completely ripped its script off and put a Dredd helmet on the guy. That's not cool. But that being said, Judge Dredd with Stallone at the height of his powers when he's making Demolition Man and this movie and Rob Schneider just being stupid and just It's not faithful to the comic book at all, but it's fun. And so that is why it is an 18%, and that is why it's my number 4.
I was going to put the Dredd that you hate on my list, and then I
80,
saw the Rotten Tomatoes score, and I was like, whoa, everybody liked it.
That's ridiculous.
Except
You're number
for
3,
you.
sir.
Number 3, Superman 3. I'll just tell you right now so I don't forget, 26% on the Rotten Tomatoes meter. It is... the third Superman film, of course, the first one where Christopher Reeve was actually top billed in it. Richard Pryor is also starring in it. They tried to make kryptonite, and they're missing an ingredient, so they spliced tobacco tar to get what is left. Superman turns evil. There's a creepy robot in it. It was a lot of fun to me. As a child, I find out later the only reason why Richard Pryor did it was because they gave him tons of money. He understood that the script was bad. Everybody else thinks the script is bad. I saw it as a little kid. I loved Richard Pryor. It was my first Richard Pryor movie that I could see because,
Sure, right.
I was a child.
I'll tell you, I love Superman 3. This was my honorable mention. The scene in the junkyard where evil Superman is fighting Clark Kent.
Yeah.
That's a great time.
That is a great time. And I don't know why they don't. I mean, this movie stunk according to everybody else. But they should redo that theme. I mean, why haven't we seen Bizarro yet? I mean, they could do Bizarro.
That's as close as you got.
Yeah, that's as close as you got.
Hey, I'm with you on Superman 3. It's not good, but it's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
My number 3 pulls down a hefty 14% score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
My number 3 is Howard the Duck.
Oh.
Starring Leah Thompson and a duck.
Oh.
Involving some a love scene between Leah Thompson and a duck. Ridiculous movie. Now look, when I watch the movie, I realize every time, oh, this movie's bad.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
And then when the time in between the watching, I'm like, oh, you know, Howard the Duck's really good. And that is why it's a guilty pleasure, because no matter what, I still go back to it. I will watch it every few years, be like, Howard the Duck, man, that's a great 80s movie, right? And then I watch it, I'm like, this is a terrible movie. There's nothing good about it.
It's an acquired taste.
But it lingers, and I cannot force myself to be like, it's just bad. It's not good, it's bad. So I enjoy it. It is full-on guilty pleasure, because I will be the first to admit Howard the Duck is not a good movie. It was a failure in all aspects, except for maybe the look of the duck. That was kind of good.
Well, there's one success it has. People still remember it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Oh, you're going to remember Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
I mean,
But does anybody remember the name of the dinosaur from Dinotopia?
No, not at all. But that is my number 3 movie, Howard the Duck. Your number 2.
Number 2 is my highest score on Rotten Tomatoes. It is Daredevil with Ben Affleck, which received a 45%. Of course, he is not in the new Netflix series.
Right.
Everybody said it was terrible. There was a spin-off called Elektra, which
That's
I
truly
can't,
terrible.
I can't watch that.
That's for real bad.
That is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, for reals.
For real.
And you know what? Everybody should know Daredevil. If you don't know Daredevil, that's a blind guy. He ends up getting these powers because he doesn't have to deal with sight.
I think it gets...
But the great action scenes...
It gets junked on unnecessarily. I don't think it's as bad as everyone says it is. I don't think it's great, especially now looking back at what we have now. But people talk about it like it's Elektra, like it's Catwoman, like it's one of these terrible ones.
Yeah.
It's not.
No, I loved Bullseye. I thought he was great.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I think Ben Affleck did a good job in this. He has a couple of roles he did really good, and this was it. He is Daredevil. He'll always be Daredevil to me.
I love it. He will always be. My number 2, if you know me, you know I gotta cheat. So my number 2 is a tie between 2 movies, and that is the aforementioned Batman Forever and its sequel, Batman and Robin.
Oh.
Batman Forever, as Mike said, pulling a 41%. Batman and Robin, the movie that helped just finally destroy the franchise, pulling an 11%. Here's the thing. Batman Forever, I really enjoy Val Kilmer as Batman.
Yeah.
I think he's an abomination as Bruce Wayne.
Oh, yeah.
But as Batman, he's enjoyable. It's good, it's bad, it's got a great soundtrack, as you said.
Yep.
Batman, I hate Chris O'Donnell as Robin. That is the one thing I hate about both of these movies, is that you shouldn't have a 35-year-old guy playing Robin.
Yeah.
And he's just a bad actor. But the fact that Gotham turns from dark and gritty into like a glow light rave really frustrates me. But Batman and Robin, the worst of the franchise, right? Mr. Freeze, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, and the ridiculous one-liners, I enjoy that every time.
The only thing I think they did really wrong was they just shoved in way too many heroes. Or like the only
that was what did it. Just the ridiculous of Bane and Poison Ivy and Schwarzenegger.
Just too much.
But you know what? They're just fun. They're not good, but they're fun. Schumacher was a terrible director for these movies, but
is that the one where the bat suit had the bat nipples?
Rubber nipples? Yeah, of course. Why not? Your number 1, sir.
My number 1 is going to be my number 1, whether it was a guilty pleasure or not. Ooh. This is a fantastic movie. Everyone is wrong. Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight.
Another great soundtrack, by the way.
Great soundtrack. This was in 1995. This was one of my favorite movies that came out of the 90s. I've been a huge Tales from the Crypt fan forever. I have stacks this big of Tales from the Crypt archives. I still read them as an adult on occasion. Billy Zane, he is the collector, and he is looking for the key that will pretty much destroy the world and bring the demons back from the dark. And Jada Pinkett Smith, who is carrying... no, she's not carrying it yet. No spoiler alert.
Okay.
But Billy Zane's trying to get the key, and inside the key it has the blood of Christ, and that keeps the light, and the story's actually really kind of weird, but
No.
it's exciting all the way through. It's funny. I like Billy Zane. There's not too many places I could say that I like Billy Zane, but in this movie, he did really good. This is like one of Jada's first roles.
Yeah.
It was a great movie. I don't know where it got its 35%. And
I'll agree with you. I enjoyed it.
And there was going to be a trilogy, but Bardello of Blood did even worse, and that wasn't good.
No. I tried to like that because I did enjoy this one, but yeah, it's not good.
And after that abomination, they decided they were not they weren't going to do the 3.
Shut it all down.
Shut it all down.
That is your number.
But I'd love
one.
to see them reboot it.
Oh, there you go.
And they did reboot.
Billy Zane would probably do it.
No. they did reboot Demon Knight under a different name, and they don't try to Night of the Demons, it's called. It's pretty much the same thing, except for they give no acknowledgement to where it's from.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. My number one guilty pleasure comic book movie comes in at 38%, and it is from 1995, and it is the movie Tank Girl.
I like that movie.
Tank Girl is a great movie. Tank Girl starring Lori Petty as the titular role of Tank Girl, a very young Naomi Watts as her cohort Jet Girl, Malcolm McDowell coming in as the bad guy. It is a post-apocalyptic Australia where water is the precious resource.
Ice-T?
Ice-T playing a kangaroo.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it. And water is a precious resource, as it always is in post-apocalypse Australia. If you watch Mad Max, you'll learn that. And a great soundtrack. The one thing I really love about it is the stylized comic book interludes between scenes. Just, I love the aesthetic of cutting into the comic book drawings, as it were, to kind of cover for a low budget action scenes. We'll just do a comic panel showing the action. We don't have to shoot it.
Yep.
And Lori Petty, I think this is her best role. She was great. This movie is so 1990s. It screams it. It's on Netflix right now. I rewatched it recently and just fell in love with it all over again. Just a great time.
I'm going to have to check it out. I didn't know it was on Netflix.
Yeah,
but it's been a while since I've seen it. I remember liking it a lot.
It's a ton of fun and has one of the best soundtracks from the 90s that I can remember. It's right up there with The Crow.
What was the score again? I already know you said it.
38%.
38%.
Yeah.
Not deserved.
And yeah, I mentioned real quickly, Ice-T plays a half man, half kangaroo. That's worth watching right there, right? That's worth it right there. So those are our lists. If you think these are intriguing at all, I say let us know on Facebook or Twitter. You can find us, but
I have a feeling no one's going to get back.
I'm kind of I love your list, and I'm going to go watch some of these all over again. But let's take a look ahead real quick at what will be coming out the weekend of May 15th. We have really 2 movies that are coming out that weekend. The first one is Pitch Perfect 2, the sequel to the a cappella blockbuster that came out a few years ago.
I have not seen it.
You haven't seen Pitch Perfect?
No, I'm going to
Michael, you must watch Pitch Perfect.
I'm going to have to see it.
Because we're going to have a sing-off, an a cappella sing-off during this episode.
No.
Okay, then. The second movie coming out that weekend is Mad Max Fury Road, starring Tom Hardy as Max. I'm really excited for that one as well.
I'm super excited for this.
Yeah, Mad Max should be a good time. I recently reviewed all of the original Mad Max movies. Rewatched them all over the course of a weekend, reviewed them. If you want to hear what I thought about any of the all the original Mad Max movies, you can find me. I joined the guys over at Flix Podcast. If you listen to podcasts at all, go to Flix Podcast. You'll see me on there discussing all those movies. Really good. I forgot how much I hated one of those movies, though, until I rewatched it.
Thunderdome?
Hey! He's good. He's good. But until then, we want to thank our sponsor, Marcus Theaters. Mike, tell them a little something real quick about Marcus Theaters.
Marcus Theaters just opened their new theater. They have an awesome bistro.
Yeah.
Check it out, really. Most of you have. They gave away T-shirts and all this stuff. You have to go see it. Plaza Sun Prairie.
Palace.
Palace.
The Palace.
Palace. Sorry,
No doubt about
sorry.
it. Well, next week we're going to be talking about Hot Pursuit and the D Train. So until then, my name is Jameson.
I'm Mike Roth.
Thanks for watching.